Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be making this Victorian corset, so let's get straight into the video. I'll be using my already cut out corset pattern, and the pink fabric is my main fabric. The ashoke, the striped fabric, is just 6" by 45, and I'll also be using a lining to turn the main fabric. You also need an interfacing to stabilize the fabric. So this interfacing, you need enough to iron on the main fabric and on the lining as well. So whatever is the quantity of main fabric you're using, so if I'm using 1 yard of the pink fabric, my line is going to be 1 yard as well. So usually you can cut out your fabric and then iron the cut out interface and iron it on it, but because I'm working with this lining and it's not very stable, I am trying to iron my interfacing on it and then cut it out, so that by the time I iron it, it doesn't change the shape and give me a different shape. To cut out the fabric, I placed the pattern on the main fabric. So I place the pattern, pin the pattern on the main fabric, and then cut out according to my allowance. So at the top I left ½ inch allowance, and at the side I left 3/4 of an inch allowance. I've left 3/4 of an inch because that's how much space, because my boning is going to be inside the allowance. The allowance is my casing channel, so that's how much I need for my boning casing channel. If you need more or less, if you need less, just use whatever allowance you need for your casing channel. And also, whatever, ensure that the allowance you're leaving is the allowance you're going to sew with. So for each piece, I've cut out 2 main fabric and I've cut out 2 lining. I've also iron interfacing on all these pieces. After I've cut out my pieces and ironed the interfacing on it, the next thing I'm going to do is to join each piece. So I've arranged them according to number 1 to 5. So I'll start with number 1. I'll pick out, that's my middle piece, and I labeled the pieces as well. So I'll pick out center front 1 and join it at the midpoint. I'll do that for the main fabric and for the lining. When I'm joining, I'm going to ensure that the allowance I've left is what I'm going to sew with, otherwise it's going to be bigger than the measurement I've used. So I've joined the center point, the center front of the main fabric and the lining. Next, I'll pick number 2 and join it to the one I've just joined, so to the number 1 piece. So I'm picking center front 2 and joining it to center front 1. I'm joining the main fabric and the lining at the sides. So I'll go and do that for all the sides, the front, couple the back. So I'll just go and do that for all the pieces. I'll join them all together. For the main fabric, I'll iron out joining open, and for the lining, I will top stitch on the joining just as I'm doing here. So this is what it looks like after top stitching. So next I'm going to take the main fabric and then sew the third piece on it. So I've sewn the second piece, the number 2, center front 2. So now I'm going to sew side front 1. So you have to be careful because of this is where the breast cut is. I would usually start sewing from the under bust marking, where the under bust line is. Sew it straight down and then come back and sew around the curve of the breast cut. So I'm just going to show you what I mean. So I'll place it on that mark, the under bust line, and sew it straight down first, and then I'll turn it and then sew around the curve. So I'll just sew the rest around the curve. So I'll just go and do this for the main fabric and for the lining. So whatever joining I do for the main fabric, I'll do for the lining. The only difference between them is for the joining of the lining, I'm going to top stitch, and for the joining of the main fabric, I'll just iron it open. if you don't want to top stitch the lining, you can iron that open as well. And if your boning is going, if you want your boning on your lining, you can't top stitch the lining, you have to iron it open. So you can also have the lining and the main fabric ironed open, but I want mine top stitched. That's why I've top stitched the lining. So this is what it looks like now. I've joined 3 pieces together. So I've joined the center front, I've joined the center front 1, center front 2, side front 1. Next, I'm going to join side front 2 to the main fabric. Don't forget to use the allowance that you've left to sew. Ensure that you're not sewing more or less than it, otherwise your measurements will differ. So I've joined the center front 2. So I have my front pieces now for main fabric and lining. I'll just put this aside and start working on my back pieces. For my back pieces, I have 3 pieces for each side. So I'm going to be joining 1 to 2 and to 3, just as I have done for the front pieces. When you're sewing corset, ensure that you label where the top is, where the bottom is. Just imagine if I didn't label this, I would have been trying to figure out, oh, where's the top of it, where's the bottom, because the pieces look similar if you don't have your pattern on it. That's why my pattern is pinned to it until I've joined it. So these are little mistakes that you could make when making corset. So I've joined the pieces. These are my lining pieces, and then I've joined the main fabric as well. So I've joined the lining and top stitched, and I've joined the main fabric. At this point, if you haven't used the correct joining allowance, then you have to ensure you double check your measurement to ensure that what you're joining at the front and what you're joining at the back is the actual measurement. So just double check your measurement. I'm trimming all the excess fabric. Sometimes when you sew it moves and it's a bit longer than what it should be. So ensure you double check your measurement so that you have the correct measurement, and then join the sides together. So I'm just going to take the sides together and join the front to the back by the sides. I'm going to have a loop at the back, so I'm just leaving the back open. After I've joined it together, the next thing I'm going to do is take it to the ironing table and iron all my pieces, like all the joining together. So because this is going to be the boning casing, I'm going to open it up and then iron it to either sides. My casing is going to be at both sides of the joining. So I'm going to take the front and the back and then go and join it together. So I'll just sew it according to the allowance I left. If you're not sure of your allowance, please double check your measurement before you join. So I've joined now. The next thing I'm going to do is iron all this joining open. So corset has a lot to do with ironing. So I'm just going to iron everything to lie flat at both sides of the joining. I'm just going to do this, and then after I've done it for the main fabric, for the lining, I'll just iron the lines so that it is neat. When I get to the breast cut area, I'm going to be using this ball to iron. So I'll be placing the ball in the under the curve, and then iron around the ball just so that I don't flatten the bust area. I'm going to be ironing around the ball. Sorry, my fabric went out of the camera frame, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to do. So after I've ironed it from the back, I'll turn it to the right side and iron it. Please ensure that your pressing iron is neat, otherwise it's going to stain your fabric. So I'll do this for both sides of the breast cut and iron around it, and then iron around the back. I made little cuts around the curve just so that it will lie flat. So I just notch it just a bit. Don't forget that it's going to be boning casing with inside that line, like going to sew it down. So just notch it around the curve and then iron it open, and then iron it on the right side as well, on the wrong side and on the right side. Next, I'm going to take my bra cup and then place it around my breast curve. So I'm going to, first things, marking the midpoint of this bra cup. I'll just notch it at the top and at the bottom because I'm going to be sewing it on a straight line around the cup. So next, I'm going to find the under bust of the breast cut of the curve. So I'll find the under bust, and then from the under bust, I'm going to sew it on that straight line that I've marked for inside the bust, and then sew it all the way to the top. It's going to be a straight line. So you can either use needle and thread to just tack this in at the top and at the bottom, but I want my curve to follow the cup. After I make the little cut, I'll place it together and then draw a straight line from the top to the bottom, so I have a guideline of where I'm sewing. So I've used a marker to draw a straight line from the top of the bra cup to the bottom of the bra cup so that I know where I'm sewing. So next, I'm going to take the under bust of the main fabric around the curve and then place it on where I've marked, and then start sewing on a straight line from that point all the way to the top of the bra cup. So I'm just going to sew it. Can you see how I'm placing it? So I'm just going to sew it down all the way to the top. You can use this method to join the bra cup to the fabric, to the lining, or you can use needle and thread to tack it, so dependent on you. But I've decided to use this method because it helps the bra cup sit, the main the lining sits well within on the bra cup, so it gives that breast shape. So this is what it looks like after attaching cup to curve, to the bra curve. Next, I'm going to take the main fabric and then start sewing the allowance down for the boning casing channels. So my boning is about half an inch, a little above half an inch, so I ensure that my casing where I sew is going to be sufficient to accommodate the boning. So I'll take this to the machine and then sew the lines down. So I've sewn all the lines down. Next, I'm going to join the lining to the main fabric. So I'll place them together and then start joining from the sides. I'll go from the sides all the way to the top, around the curve, the neck curve, and then all the way to the side of the left side. So I'll just sew only the side. I'm not sewing it down because I'll be using a bias to turn it. So I've gone and sewn this. The next thing I'm going to do after this is to notch it, notch around the curve, and then turn it to the right side. Turn it to the right side and iron it. When you're ironing, ensure that your lining is not showing on the main side of the fabric. So you have to take a little bit of the main fabric in so that your lining is sitting well inside the fabric. I'm going to go ahead and iron the whole corset. Next, I'm going to go and create a casing for the edge of the corset for the back. So I'll just sew on it. I'll just sew on it enough, sufficient for the boning to enter into the fabric. So I'll just sew around it there on both sides. So I've sewn on it, and this is what my corset is looking like. It's coming out well. I like the way it looks. So the next thing I'm going to do is to start inserting my boning into the casing. First, I'll cut around the boning, just make it a slight curve around the edges so that it's not sharp and uncomfortable for whoever is wearing the corset. So I'll do this at the top and at the bottom of every boning I put in each boning casing. When I get all the way in, I'll just mark where it is with my face, the length of the boning by half of an inch. So I'll do this for all the bonings. I'll reduce it by 3¼ because I'm going to have to sew around the edge. with a bias. So I'll go ahead and fix the boning for every casing channel. So this is what it looks like after fixing the boning casing channel. I'll go and iron this down so that it's flat. After I iron it, the next thing I'm going to do is to tape around the edge. I have cut out and ironed my bias. So I'm going to sew my bias from the inside and then bring it to the top of the corset and then top stitch it at the top. I have sewn my bias and this is what my corset is looking like. The next thing I would need to do is to put my eyelets. So I hope this video has been helpful and easy to follow. If you have any questions, please drop in the comment section. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post a new video. So I've made the rope for the loop, and the next thing I'm going to do is to make the holes. So I would mark my holes where I want them to be. So this at this point is dependent on how many holes you want, how small you want them. So I'm just marking mine and spacing it the way I want to space it. And then I'm going to create the holes and make the eyelets. So I'm marking the holes 3 inches apart, and then I'm going to place the other side on it just to transfer it to this side. And then I'm going to cut out the holes. I'm going to cut out the holes and then put the eyelet and fix it with this machine, rivet machine. I think that's what it's called. So you can also use a soldering iron to create these holes. So I'm just making my hole. Just ensure that whatever you're using to make your hole, ensure that your hole is not too big for the eyelets. Just make it slightly smaller than the eyelets so that it enters well and doesn't have extra like gaping spaces. I'll just go ahead and do this for all the holes. I'll fix my eyelets for all the holes. I hope this video has been helpful and easy to follow. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so when you're notified whenever I post a new video. Thank you all for watching and see you in my next video.